Kemal Kilicdaroglu is the chairman of Turkey's main opposition party, the Republican People's Party, or the CHP. He's going to be the candidate of the alliance of 6 opposition parties against President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. Turkey's presidential elections are expected to take place on the 14th of May. The electoral calendar began from early March, and Kılıçdaroğlu announced his candidature on the 6th of March. For the past several years, commentators have billed Kılıçdaroğlu as the modern-day Turkish equivalent of Mahatma Gandhi. He's sometimes referred to as Gandhi Kemal in Turkish because he has a passing resemblance with Gandhi's bespectacled face. Like Gandhi, Kılıçdaroğlu's political style is also very humble and down-to-earth. His party, the centre-left CHP, is Turkey's oldest political party, which was established by Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, the founder of the modern Turkish nation. But the million-dollar question is, can Kılıçdaroğlu dislodge Turkey's strongman president Recep Tayyip Erdogan from power after he's been at the head of Turkey's politics for more than 2 decades now? That is what we'll find out on Crux Decode. In 2017, Kemal Kilicdaroglu began a 450-kilometer protest march from Ankara to Istanbul with a large group of his supporters. This march fired up the public imagination and catapulted Kılıçdaroğlu onto the opposition's front line. Building on the Gandhi analogy, some are even comparing Kılıçdaroğlu's protests with the Indian freedom fighters' famous Salt March of 1930, when he and his followers walked 250 miles to the coast in Gujarat to protest against taxes on salt. Kılıçdaroğlu is now 75 years old. He's a career civil servant who headed Turkey's Social Security Agency for many years. He entered politics only after retirement. Kılıçdaroğlu was born in 1948 in the eastern Turkish city of Tunceli, in a family that followed the minority Alevi faith. Alevis are followers of Hacı Bektaş-Veli, who's a 13th century Persian Turkish dervish who taught an esoteric and a rather humanist form of Islam. Kılıçdaroğlu read economics at the Ankara Academy of Economics and Commercial Sciences, now it's called the Gazi University. He also went on to occupy top positions in Turkish economic and financial institutions in both the government as well as the private sectors. He also taught at the Hacettepe University in Ankara. Kılıçdaroğlu entered the Turkish parliament as a member of the CHP from Istanbul in 2002, after the same election that brought Erdogan's Justice and Development Party, the AKP, to power for the very first time. He became a prominent critic of corruption in Turkey. He was re-elected to parliament in 2007. In 2009, he unsuccessfully contested the election to become mayor of Istanbul, and in 2010, after the veteran politician Deniz Baykel resigned as chairman of the CHP, Kılıçdaroğlu became the chairman of this party. However, the CHP has not been electorally successful under him, as Erdogan has mostly steamrolled the opposition over the past decade. The CHP's support base has never crossed 25%. In fact, the biggest success for the party came in 2019 when its candidates won mayoral elections in 5 out of Turkey's 6 largest provinces, including Ankara and Istanbul. Kılıçdaroğlu received the formal backing of 5 other smaller opposition parties along with his own CHP, and it's now collectively known as the Table of 6. Meral Akşener, who is the leader of the IYI party, put aside her objections to Kılıçdaroğlu's candidature. This happened early March, and that's how he became a consensus candidate of all of these 6 political parties. Analysts have said that Kılıçdaroğlu has been handed a platform by years of economic crisis in Turkey. In fact, it has seriously weakened the Turkish currency, the lira, the value of which has depreciated over 10 times in the last 10 years compared to the dollar. There's also the situation in the aftermath of the devastating earthquake in eastern Turkey. The death toll from that now stands close to 50,000. While Kılıçdaroğlu's detractors say that he lacks Erdogan's power to rally or capture audiences, He also has no clear or convincing vision for what a post-Erdogan Turkey looks like. But his supporters underscore his reputation as an ethical bureaucrat and an honest man. And yet, just honesty and a clean image also makes it hard to believe that he will actually prevail over the strongman Erdogan. Most Turks do not think that the only leader they have known for the previous generation will actually lose an election. Erdogan has been in power, first as Prime Minister and then as President, since 2003. Erdogan and his Justice and Development Party, the AKP, have hollowed out the opposition, they've dominated political institutions, and they've ensured their grip on power. The Turkish president has used the apparatus of the state to undermine his opponents and the vast majority of Turkey's independent media, which now only repeats the government line. The judiciary, which was once a redoubtable force of secular national establishment, is now known as the preserve of the AKP. Erdogan's also remade the military command and made it subservient to him. What would it mean for Turkey's politics, and particularly its foreign policy, if Kemal Kilicdaroglu won the election in May? Some Turkish and Western commentators believe that Turkey can once again become a democratic, prosperous, and ready to pursue membership of the European Union. It can also be better aligned with its NATO allies. Without a doubt, this will be a sigh of relief for millions of Turks if Erdogan is vanquished at the polls and he actually goes on to relinquish office. But it is unlikely that Turkey will revert to some kind of an imagined glorious past. The Nation Alliance, or the Table of Six as these six opposition parties are known, Kılıçdaroğlu is leading an ideologically disparate coalition. They are united by only one thing, and that is their hatred and loathing of Erdogan. In addition to Kılıçdaroğlu's CHP, which occupies the left of center and social democrat space, this alliance also includes an offshoot of Turkey's hard-right nationalist party called the Good Party. Then there are two center-right parties led by the AKP defectors like Ali Babacan and Ahmet Davutoğlu, who used to be the former foreign minister under Erdogan. There's also another center-right grouping called the Democrat Party, and the other member, of course, is the religious nationalist conservative party, the Felicity Party, which, along with the AKP, was established in 2001. Besides its opposition to Erdogan and the AKP, the centerpiece of the alliance is also its appeal to Turks and its stated determination to shift away from the executive presidency that Erdogan brought 6 years ago, and it gave him a great deal of enhanced powers. The coalition is now saying they will be in favor of a strengthened parliamentary system. When it comes to foreign policy, the National Alliance says that they will end Turkey's foreign policy activism. They've also declared that domestic political calculations and ideological approaches will no longer be factors in deciding foreign policy. The National Alliance also wants to restart the EU accession process and commit Turkey to complying with the decisions of the European Court of Human Rights. Now, that would mean that Turkey would have to release tens of thousands of political prisoners from detention who have been rounded up by Erdogan's regime on trumped-up charges. The platform also says they will take initiatives to return to the F-35 Joint Strike Fighter program. The Turkish government had planned to purchase 100 F-35 warplanes from the United States, and it was part of an international consortium that was building the fighter. But Erdogan, in an apparent show of friendship with Vladimir Putin, went on to buy 100 S-400 air defense systems from Russia, and with that, the United States terminated both the F-35 sale as well as Turkey's participation in that program. Interestingly, the Nation Alliance's platform does not mention the United States directly or indirectly. And this is likely because most Turks have long held negative views of the United States. It is a phenomenon that Turkish politicians, including Kemal Kilicdaroglu, have reinforced and extended because they derive political benefit from it. In private, they may say all the right things about America to their American friends and interlocutors, but they cannot resist flogging the United States when in public. It is notable that Kılıçdaroğlu has visited Washington twice in the last 10 years, but both times he was trying hard to downplay the visit or even hide his trip from the Turkish press and his political opponents.